I'm Steve Johnson, president of Sinclair, and we have I'm here with many of the Sinclair staff, and very importantly, we have your trustees, my bosses from the board. We have Maninder Kalra and Mike Gagan, and from the College Board, and from the Sinclair Foundation Board, Mike Miller's here. So that's the real honchos. But anyhow, I'm here to say good morning and thank you for having us, and thank you for allowing us to give you an update on what's been going on with Sinclair in Warren County. There's a lot, and I'm not going to say a whole lot this morning other than to introduce Senior Vice President Madeline Isley, who will walk you through that update and I think make us all look good. So, Vice President Madeline Isley.
Thank you, Dr. Johnson. Good morning. It is my pleasure to be before you again this morning and truly to share some good news with some updates on the progress that Sinclair continues to make as your hometown community college. Just a reminder, as you know, Sinclair's been around for 136 years, started as a night school of the Dayton YMCA, and named for the founder, David A. Sinclair, who was the General Secretary of the YMCA back in 1887. Again, 136 years, making us one of the oldest community colleges in the nation, and driven now today by three strategic priorities, which are alignment, growth, and equity. Just a few slides to show you from an overall college perspective how enrollment has been progressing, actually holding very strong in a time. Think about community college enrollment is directly related to employment. So in a time of full employment, to see the enrollment remain strong says a lot about engaging the range of students that Sinclair does. This year, we saw a record awarding of degrees and certificates, almost 11,000 credentials this year. That's been a real focus of Sinclair, is making sure that students cross the finish lines in whatever their chosen paths are. Proud to show you enrollment by county, and especially proud because you can see Warren County squeaked past Greene County in terms of total number of residents enrolled in Sinclair. And this is significant because since the beginning, back in the David Sinclair age, there were always a handful of students from Greene County. So Greene County has been much more historically connected to Sinclair. And now, as you can see, Warren County is neck and neck. And enrollment is very strong, undoubtedly because of the presence at Mason in Clinton, Butler, Hamilton, and even Claremont County.
Do we have any math professors here? If you said that there's 9,900 students from Greene, Warren, and Clinton County, and their deviation is one student between each, statistically, that's unbelievable.
Isn't that interesting?
They're one student off for each of the counties? That's crazy.
Yeah. I don't know.
We should do a case study on that.
We should do a case study. I think you should lead that, Commissioner Young.
That's the highest level math I've done since eighth grade.
All right, let's look specifically at Warren County. Warren County remains the most highly educated county in this collection of counties here in terms of both associate degrees and higher. And Sinclair has played a role in that. Sinclair is now the second institution of higher education of choice for Warren County residents, second only, of course, to UC. Very proud to be second to UC, by the way, as a mother of two Bearcats. Sinclair is very highly regarded in the area compared to other institutions, as per market surveys that have been conducted in recent years. And when you look at the total enrollment of Warren County residents in two-year campuses, that would include community colleges, but also branch campuses, you can see that Sinclair's proportion continues to grow. That's the red line, and the black line being the total enrollment. So again, making a difference, contributing to the educational attainment of this county. This is a look at market penetration, if you will. Everything above the 2.5% is a very good, strong rate. And that means that more of your residents are attending community college than in other areas. And being above average there is great, as you can see. And then, again, looking proportionately, the cumulative Sinclair enrollment compared to the continued growth of population in Warren County. So we're really working hard to enroll even more of your residents. At the Mason campus, currently there are 14 certificate and 16 associate degree programs. And Warren County residents continue to earn an increasing number of Sinclair credentials as part of that record-breaking year this year. In addition, you're familiar with the College Credit Plus program. This is where high school students receive both high school credit and college credit. And Warren County continues to perform very strongly in this program as well. It's a very popular program, and you can see why in the green text box there. It quite literally saves tuition dollars for families of those students. This last year, we had almost 70 high school students graduating with Sinclair degrees before they even finished their high school diplomas. Not all of those from Warren County, by the way. And again, transfer, very, very strong. Transfer from Sinclair to a bachelor's degree program, to universities. Specifically at Mason, very, very proud to have received from the Warren County Community Foundation the Outstanding Organization, Community Service Organization Award. That was just a couple months ago, and especially proud because County Treasurer Barney Wright, whose name is on Building B at the Mason campus, was the presenter of that award. Thank you for joining us, Barney. Here's a nice group shot with Senator Wilson and Representative Lips and the whole Sinclair crew at the Manor House that evening. Also, very proud to announce that as of the end of June, Sinclair now owns Building A. It was the first foray into the Courseview Drive area by Sinclair in partnership with the Tipton Group that was built for Sinclair with a long-term lease option to buy. And we arrived at the end of that lease, and it was clearly more cost-effective to buy the property. And so now we own all of the parcels outright between the Sinclair College and the Sinclair Foundation within that red outline there in the Courseview Drive area. And in a couple weeks, you'll see some of our land parked with cars for the ATP, which we loaned them the access to the land for that event. And then, of course, this is just a beautiful drone shot of the Barney Wright building. Barney, we should frame this for you for your office. Let me just give you a quick update. Thanks to your generosity, well over $830,000 has been awarded since 2007, since the beginning of the creation of the Warren County Commissioner's Scholarship Fund. And just this past year alone, $115,000 was awarded to 1,100 students in the Warren, all residents of Warren County, as part of the scholarship fund. Again, thanks to your generosity. And I think we have a student with us, Michaela, who today, by the way, is her birthday. Thank you for joining us, Michaela. And would you like to share a few words? Yeah, come on up.
Hi, good morning, guys. I've been at St. Clair since 2020. I started at the end of the year with the pandemic starting, and all my classes were online. Ever since I started at St. Clair, it was a great opportunity, and I've had so much fun, and I've learned, and I actually enjoy going to school now. I'm in the nursing program, and I'm supposed to start in the fall of next year. This extra little bit of money and scholarship money does help a tremendous amount. Buying books, groceries, you name it. Definitely goes to good use. So I thank you guys for giving me and other students the opportunity to have that money and kind of support us and have our backs when we're trying to make our education and our lives a little better. So thank you.
Awesome.
I think we left a handout for you, too. There are two other students who are profiled on the handout. It's a neat story because they happen to be a married couple, man and wife, and both of them enrolled in the Industrial Maintenance Technology Program, which is the new lab that we just dedicated a year ago. And as a result of their coursework, they're already realizing promotions in their work behind the scenes at the water park at Great Wolf Lodge. So how cool is that? That's a program that clearly supports advanced manufacturing, but also logistics and supply chain. Who knew that the Great Wolf Lodge would need those skills as well? But undoubtedly, there are other operations in this county that will benefit from that program as well. So again, thank you so much. Thank you for this very meaningful, as you heard from Michaela, very effective partnership over these many years. Very much appreciate your support. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, well, we have a check for you. But, so, would we like to have you all come on down and present this? I'm not sure that this is negotiable, Barney, but anyway. You want to come over here, or you want to go over there? Where do you want? You want to go to the front? Okay, I'll go to the front. There's more people than Good. Well, look, congratulations. We're so helpful to have you in our community, as you know. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it, and thanks again. And again, Barney can tell you how to do it. I'm not exactly sure how that works.
We endorse it. Yeah.
So, hopefully there's a better item.
How are you? Nice to see you. Thank you. Oh, gosh, thank you guys.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you.
Good to see you. How much are we giving them? Is it still from our?
Yeah.
31,000 from since 2007.
How long will that take?
Thank you, Sinclair. Appreciate you. You're welcome.
Well, before we go on to the public hearing, can we do the consent agenda quickly?
So moved.
And yes?
Yes. And the requisitions?
I'm fine with them.
And yes?
Yes. And is there anything else?
I do. I have two add-ons. The first one is a resolution to authorize the county administrator to sign an agreement with Professional Development Academy.
So moved.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Isaacs, While we've got him here, you haven't presented to us in a while. How did our program go? What all happened? You haven't kind of talked about that lately. Since we had you here, I thought I would just ask, how are things going and how did it go?
Well, you know, I've said in many, many venues, the commissioners deserve such credit for all the help you gave school districts during the past 2 years. The last 2 years, undoubtedly, incredibly difficult years in all of the school districts in Ohio, in Warren County. The public should remember that the commissioners used part of your COVID relief dollars to help school districts with distance learning. It was a big deal in our schools 2 years ago. Last school year, the commissioners allowed the ESC to employ a school nurse for all of the school districts in the county, as well as Clinton, Massey, and Monroe, which have, of course, territory within the county. And the issue for the school districts was, because of health department rules, there was such an incredible amount of time devoted to contact tracing. It just became overwhelming. And so the nurses that you allowed us to employ last year allowed schools to go on and operate on as normal of a basis as possible. And so it's great gratitude to have all of your partnership with that. Superintendents are meeting this Friday for the first time, planning for the upcoming year, along with Health Commissioner Stansberry. We're going to get an update on what is happening with the Ohio Department of Health and the rules that are in place for COVID for the upcoming year. We are aware that it appears that COVID is on the rise again, and until I hear from the superintendents Friday, I really don't know what plans are in place, but I know our community is great because we work together, and the community should know what a vital role the commissioners have always played in supporting public schools in this county. It's really appreciated.
I think it's one of the things we're most proud of as a board is that partnership with you and the school districts. You know, you couldn't turn on the news without hearing how schools, not just a few months into this, a year into this, a year and a half, how do we figure out how to get kids back in school? And it was like, are you kidding? Warren County's been open very safely, very healthily, or, you know, in a healthy manner, that we had really no bad outcomes for any students inside of Warren County from this. So
Commissioner Young, it's
worked.
such a hard thing to help people in Warren County. We get spoiled because things in our county are so good. But every public school in this county was open for the last 2 years. As surrounding counties, that was not true. And we work together, from the prosecutor's office to the auditor's office to the commission to our health department. We collaborate, we work together, and we solve problems.
Awesome. Well, while we had you here, we wanted to just check and see how things are going with you.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Tom. Take care. Okay,
I
next.
have one more add-on resolution, a resolution to authorize the county administrator to execute a merchant processing agreement with Paycor relative to the Warren County Building and Zoning Software Agreement.
So move.
We're buying software from them, or what are we doing?
So if you recall, Michelle was here, almost 2 months ago. We're rolling out a new software program that allows our building inspectors to actually do things in the field. As part of that agreement, iWorks has a vendor that is specific to them that takes the credit card payments. So for it all to work together, we're actually bound to Paycor to take all the credit card payments. So this will allow me to execute that agreement once the prosecutor's office has reviewed it and blessed it.
Dan, yes?
Yes. All right.
That's all that I have.
Okay, very good. All right, so we have a public hearing for rezoning application of, is it Melena or Melina?
Molina Properties.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Okay, thank you. This is case number 2022-05. The applicant, as we stated, is Molina Properties. The township is Union. The address is 3268 South State Route 42. The parcel ID is 12141000008-0. The property size is 10 acres. There is 562.9 feet of frontage. The current zoning is I2, and the future land use map does have this as industrial, which is I2. The existing land use is single-family residential and a landscaping service. You may remember this was the old Marvin Durbin property, so he did live there and had his business there. So that's why there was an existing home. The issue for consideration is we want to add a PUD to this. Mr. Molina wants to stay there for a very long time, and his family is expanding. So he wants to expand that residential use, and he can't do that in an IU, or an I2, I'm sorry. So if we add this PUD, he would be able to expand the residential home so he can continue to grow his family and stay there. And then also the business would be able to expand as well. Regional Planning had their meeting on May 26th of 2022. Warren County Rural Zoning Commission had their hearing on June 15th, 2022. I do have their recommendations as well. This is an aerial of the property. The proposed addition, again, is to the single-family home, which is closest to the road. He's also wanting to add a building to the back at future, as we stated, to expand the business. There's also some sections there you'll see on this lower side where he has bins, where he keeps mulch and rocks and things for the business. He may want to add a few of those as well as the business expands. So this is a list of prohibited uses. As you know, with a PUD, there are different standards, and they write those themselves a lot. What was nice about this is he prohibited these uses himself, and then when the RPC had their hearing, they also discussed sexually oriented businesses. He also added that then to the prohibited list. The existing buildings at current setback, new structures, and expansion of existing structures will comply with the Warren County zoning code. The pond areas around the pond would be his open space. Sidewalks, of course, are exempt from this property. The existing gravel space will serve as an employee parking. There are 9 additional employee parking spaces that may be added adjacent to the proposed future building. Semi-trucks and trailers will have ample space to maneuver on the property. That means they won't be holding up any traffic on 42. All landscaping delivery shall take place between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. and not impede, again, any off-site traffic. So it's getting those delivery vehicles off 42. Additions to the existing residential structure shall be constructed using similar materials, so it'll be all flow very nicely. And any future buildings, as far as the business, could be pole-style buildings with metal or vinyl siding. The proposed temporary office trailer can be used at this time. That's to be on site until construction is completed, and then that temporary construction trailer would be removed. So the narrative is that the PUD overlay will allow the site to grow and continue to be used as a mixture of residential and commercial uses. The project will be completed in 2 phases over the course of multiple years. The existing house will be used as a home office. The existing barn is being used as a shop for a landscape business. The proposed residential addition will allow for much-needed office space expansion and storage. The optional proposed temporary office trailer will be used while construction of the proposed additions and buildings are added. And the proposed future building, which is an 80 by 120, which is a good addition for a business use, would be used as office and storage space for the landscaping business. So the Warren County Comprehensive Plan does support this, and the rezoning will help the business to grow and provide more revenue and jobs to Warren County.
Michelle, can I ask a question here?
Yes, ma'am.
So does this mean that a temporary office trailer can be put on immediately and that the future building will be built out within 10 to 20 years? So that temporary office trailer could be there for up to 20 years?
No, there's a 6 months limit on that. What we're doing is adding to the house first, and that would be the home office area. So that would be first. The building, the detached 80 by 20 would come later.
So there's no trailer there more than 6 months?
Exactly, yes, sir.
Okay, well, that's not what this says, so it says optional proposed temporary office trailer may be placed on property immediately. Future building and additional gravel parking may be built out within 10 to 20 years.
Yeah, and the parking area will continue to expand over the next couple of years, but that trailer is limited to 6 months. I apologize for that.
But in some document, it's limited, not the document we're looking at?
The zoning code limits that to 6 months.
Okay.
This is a notification map of everyone that was notified within 500 feet. This is flood, which there's no flood in this area. Future land use map, as we stated, is industrial. And then the Warren County Regional Planning Commission recommendation that all plans and proposals of the applicant shall be made conditions of approval unless modified by the following. 2, compliance with the Warren County Rural Zoning Code, which is in effect at the time of issuance of a zoning permit, provided that the base zoning district standards do not conflict with the intent of the PUD. Number 3, compliance with the Warren County subdivision regulations, the PUD Stage 1 standards and conditions as approved by the county commissioners. Number 4, the applicant considers the addition of sexually oriented business to the list of prohibited uses, which he did already do. Number 5, that ODOT shall determine a traffic impact analysis if necessary, and if a traffic impact analysis is required, it shall be done prior to Stage 3. Number 6, prior to Stage 2 approval for non-residential uses, the applicant submits a detailed site plan illustrating parking, lighting, signage, and landscaping. And then 7, one single-family dwelling may be developed, and it's actually existing, it would just be the addition to that. And the use shall be in compliance with the development standards of the Warren County Rural Zoning Code. Mr. Grimm made a motion to recommend approval to the Warren County Commissioners, this was the Rural Zoning Commission, of course, to amend the current I-2 to an I-2 PUD for parcel 12141000080, with all of RPC's recommendations, and Ms. Haddock seconded the motion, so it wasn't all in favor. Are there any questions of me at this time before Mr. Molina comes forward?
So the only change, this is remaining the same, correct? With the
Exactly, we're just
exception
adding the PUD so he can expand his family home there.
All right,
and
and
the
that's
business.
the only reason, is you're taking and allowing a home that is previously existing to expand in an industrially zoned area where you wouldn't normally permit that.
Yes, sir, that's
And
correct.
that home was there prior to its being made into an industrial zoning, was that right?
I believe so. Is that correct? Yes, that is.
Okay, and the only other real change is to sexually oriented businesses, that's it.
Exactly. They did add that to the prohibited uses. So he gave us a list of prohibited uses that he would never allow there, that would be on the property through this PUD, and then they added the SOBs to it.
Okay, and so is that something that becomes part of the zoning, or is that simply a PUD regulation, that we're putting a condition on this that it has to be no sexually oriented businesses? Did we ask for that?
It was something that happened during the RPC meeting. Bruce, did you?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think that's a great idea, but okay. Any other questions?
Thanks for clarifying that,
Yeah, really. Okay,
that you think it's a good idea.
yeah, I do.
And then Mr. Molina is here. You'd like to give him a few minutes?
Okay, sure.
All right.
Great.
Good morning, Dan Molina, owner of Molina Properties and owner of Molina Landscaping. Just here to try to help answer any questions that may ease this process. We are expanding our business. We are expanding our family with a baby on the way in October. First, just trying to add on garage, office space initially. Second, adding on bigger pole building for additional office space, room to work on, equipment, storage space, stuff like that. We included some of the I-2 items that may be more intrusive to the Warren County plan that Warren County may not like to see as part of the county, including the sexually oriented businesses, some of the trucking industries, some of the fuel sites. So I don't think we are asking for a whole lot to expand the house, even though that's what we're trying to do.
Let us make this very simple. We like it. You're growing your family, you're growing your business. It's already allowed. It's good.
May I say something?
Yes, of course.
Mr. Molina, could you explain to the Board of Commissioners what, if any, EPA permits currently exist to allow composting on this property and which classification, if there are any?
So we transferred the permit from Marvin's Organic Compost. We still have it as a Class 4 permit. We did that mainly so we didn't have to fill in the pond that was there for the holding of the contaminants that would come off the compost. That was the main reason we just transferred the permit. So we still maintain that. We do not allow any public use of it, mainly just for our landscape operation, which is eventually transported off-site.
Yeah, Marvin's was a big deal to us, though. That became a very problematic license at one point.
And what is a Class 4?
Mainly just allows for yard waste.
Okay, and are you amenable to placing a condition on your PUD because you're asking the commissioners to allow you to do something otherwise you wouldn't be allowed to do without the PUD? It says you will not have a compost permit other than for yard waste.
I'm in agreement as that as long as we just keep it as the Class 4 that it is. So we're not taking, Class 3 is, I believe, the more obtrusive one, allows all the zoo products, all the stuff that no one liked over the years. We've had the permit now almost going on 3 years now, and you can look it up. We haven't had any violations. EPA comes in and inspects us every
So when you say
year.
you took over Marvin's was a higher class. You could put dead animal carcasses in there and things like that. You're saying you
We
can't.
transferred it to a lower class.
Okay.
Okay, I don't understand yet.
The proposal, just like you added that you're prohibited, you've agreed to not conduct these particular activities on the property, plus the SOB activities. Are you inclined to add to this list, you won't conduct any EPA permit composting activities on the property other than for yard waste?
Yeah, expansion of EPA permit level to a more intensive use.
In agreement with that. That's fine.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Bruce. Yeah, we've had all sorts of problems with the Marvin compost. in the
Understand.
past.
So
We don't want the public coming into our facility.
But you're amenable, but it's a restriction to yard waste only.
The class
We'd have to discuss EPA and exactly every single item that is allowed in the Class 4.
Okay. Are you okay with this, Bruce?
Yeah, Stan, I don't off the top of my head know how broad Class 4 is.
Several years ago, the commissioners in the I-2 as well as the I-1 district prohibited Class 1, 2, and 3 composting facility. So currently, the base zoning for this district does not allow those composting facilities.
Okay.
They're only allowed to do Class 4.
Do you agree Class 4 is limited to?
Class 4 is limited to yard waste.
Okay. So we don't have a problem, as long, it's just, we want to be sensitive that, Class
wanna
4 is yard
maintain
waste.
that.
And dead cows or something. No, it's yard waste.
Correct, yes. You got rid of the you prohibited composting facilities that were Class 1, 2, and 3.
But Bruce, what you're suggesting is that perhaps the commission would want to consider a condition that would limit the PUD to only a Class 4 permit, so that there's no question in the future, if there is a desire to change the permit, that wouldn't be allowed under these PUD conditions.
Correct, or you could add it to this list that Class 1, 2, and 3 or similar EPA permits are prohibited, just to be clear.
Right, right.
Okay, is that amenable to you?
That's fine.
Okay,
I think you
let's
have
add that to the list.
next to impossible time trying to get it back down to the Class 3 or 2.
All right,
Good.
okay.
Thank you.
Anything else?
And you're okay with all of the conditions that were laid out in
In
there?
agreement with all of them.
Great.
All right, as this is a public hearing, does anyone else want to speak to this? Seeing none, do we have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved?
And yes?
Yes, and do we need to then have a motion to adopt based upon conditions?
I'll make a motion to approve the PUD with said conditions, with the addition of one more item, prohibiting applicant of maintaining a EPA class certification of 1, 2, or 3 on proposed property.
Second?
All right, yes, do we need to take a roll call on that?
Yes.
Mr. Grossman?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Thank you.
Good luck.
All right, now we have a regional economic development update from Ready Cincinnati.
Thank you, Chase. Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for hosting us. My name's Kevin Donnelly. I'm the Vice President of the Project Management Team for Ready Cincinnati. I've been on board for almost 6 years now, but in this position for just the past couple of months. So I'm going to run through just a quick status update for you all on the work that we've been doing. We've got a lot of content to cover here, so I'm going to be moving pretty quickly, but please feel free to stop and ask questions. I'm happy to dive deeper into anything. And before I get started, I do want to share, I'm joined by a couple of my colleagues who just met, Chase Mozajowski. We also have Carrie Pastor, who are on our engagement team, our investor and community engagement team, and then Andrea Enders, who is our Director of Business Development. May be a familiar face. She's been on the Ready team for a long time and has acted as our Warren County liaison for the past 6 or 7 years. So I'm sure most of you all are familiar with the work that we do, but essentially READY stands for the Regional Economic Development Initiative, and it's our job to coordinate the economic development activity of the entire Cincinnati MSA. As businesses are expanding or looking to locate in new business operations, we try to act as a central point of contact to kind of quarterback the decision-making process for them. Our executive committee for this year is led by George Vincent, and Commissioner Young also serves on an executive committee. This is the group that oversees our leadership on the day-to-day background. The executive committee is made up of a cross-section of industry leaders, of public and private sector leaders at the city levels, at the county levels, all across the tri-state region. One of the main functions of the Ready Cincinnati team is to be the Jobs Ohio network partner for Southwest Ohio. Now, I mentioned we coordinate the economic development activities for the entire region. We have a little bit of a dichotomy, though, in how our work is actually executed. Jobs Ohio, as you know, is the state's privatized economic development team, and there are 6 network partners across the state that act as kind of the boots on the ground, that are a little bit more familiar with the ins and outs of the daily activity in each particular region. And in this capacity, we cover the 5 southwest counties in Ohio. Our team has the ability to assist on negotiating state-level incentives. We also perform a lot of the site aggregation, site location work, moving more into the proactive site identification work and site development work, as well as talent solutions. The other piece of that dichotomy is the regional work, and primarily we serve on the business development front. When we're working with clients or trying to get in front of clients domestically, internationally, we're representing the entire greater Cincinnati region. Each project that comes to us is a little bit different. Each industry that we serve is a little bit different. They've got different project drivers. Different things are important to them. And so having a tri-state region really gives us an advantage to be able to put in front of companies and clients different business environments that might serve their operations better. Just quickly want to touch on some of the topics that we're dealing with on a day-to-day basis. Again, you've got kind of a sliding scale of all of these different factors and criteria, and each industry and company has the priorities in a little bit of a different order. But essentially things come down to sites and talent are typically 1A and 1B for us right now. Do I have the infrastructure that I need to make my operation successful? The utilities, access to highways, access to rail, water, suppliers, customer base, you name it. And then talent. Am I going to be able to get the talent that I need to make my operation successful in the long term. Sinclair, who was up here a little bit earlier, are great partners and investors of ours as well. It's really critical for us to be in tune with all of the educational partners that are serving the region. Incentives, we like to, a lot of times in the news, incentives are kind of what makes a splash in the newspaper, but we say incentives on a project never make a bad deal good, right? This is when a company is narrowed down to 2 or 3 sites that would all work for addressing a variety of other factors, and then what can kind of be the cherry on top to ensure success. All this comes down to speed, risk, money. It's a little bit oversimplified, but this is how we address project drivers. Can I help a customer get up and running quicker? Can I de-risk the project for them? And can it either be less expensive for them to operate, or can they make money quicker? Incentives don't always have to come in the form of a grant provided directly to a company, especially at the local level. Folks that have friendly permitting and business practices where they can get through that process quicker with a little bit more ease and confidence, gets their operation up and running quicker, and they're able to make money quicker. So there's a lot of ways to address this, but speed, risk, money is kind of how we boil it down to its simplest. Company success and sustainability, we pride ourselves on our business retention expansion program. We've won awards over the past few years at a national level of ensuring that the businesses that are already located here continue to be provided with the success and resources they need to grow and thrive. And so when we welcome new companies into the region, we ensure that they've got some longevity and the success factors. So we're out there meeting with companies that choose to locate in our region each year. And then cost of living, the livability and cost aspect of our region, I don't want to say is completely unique, but how it's applied in each industry and how we use it as a differentiator is something that we go back to time and time again. You've got, again, this is industry dependent, but so many different things you can find in this region for a more affordable cost than you can in other places. So essentially, we have what a company's looking for at a more affordable rate. Ready was founded in 2014, and so we spent our first 5 years really just kind of building the plane, learning how to fly it, working out the kinks, ensuring that the organization was getting stood up, that we were partnering with our local partners like Warren County and others, that we were finding our way in the Jobs Ohio network and working across the 3 states. And so we decided that after 5 years, at the beginning of 2020, was a good time for us to revisit a strategic plan, embarked on a 5-year strategic plan. If you can take yourselves back to the beginning of 2020 when we finished and released the strategic plan. 2 months later, the global pandemic hit and kind of turned the economic development field on its head. We've continued to work against these goals. We partner with a significant number of individuals, businesses, and organizations across the region. Essentially boiled down economic development success in this region to these 5 pillars. Booming business is where we spend a lot of our time, simply ensuring that we are performing at an economic level at the rate and size of a community of our size should. A global brand is all about ensuring folks beyond Ohio, beyond the Midwest, understand what the greater Cincinnati region is, and when you hear it, you know what to expect. Sites and infrastructure, I mentioned this earlier, it's absolutely critical in the site identification process for companies looking to expand to ensure we've got the reliable infrastructure for them to grow. And then talent, again, there's this talent challenge that we're facing nationwide, something we just want to make sure that we're at the forefront of addressing, all of which is kind of stood up with this diversity, equity, inclusion, kind of the base of the work that we're doing. So some of the industries and the sub-industries that we focus on, you can see here. Again, this is a cross-section of a variety of things and a lot of work on this single slide. These sub-industries, some of them are places where we think this region has a right to win. We either have the talent specifically to support, more so than our competitors. There are supply chains or infrastructure or things about the industry that can ensure a company is successful here. Some of them are a bit aspirational and where we kind of want to take this region kind of in the next few years. this community in Warren County wins in the biohealth space a little bit more than the rest of the region does. But as a region wide, we know that jobs like that pay extremely well. They're going to be sustainable and take us into the future. So this list here is a little bit of a mix, but when we're spending our proactive time on business development, these are the industries and the sub-industries that we're focusing on. Then let's take that worldwide. I mentioned before that Andrea is our Director of Business Development. She primarily focuses on our domestic business attraction, but these are the areas that we're spending on an international front. We've got partnerships in these countries assisting us. And again, if you take a cross-reference of where those sub-industries that we're focusing on, where we've had historic success in foreign direct investment in the past, and kind of mix that all up, these are the countries where a lot of, we've got the best opportunity to win continued foreign direct investment into the greater Cincinnati region. Again, I'm moving quick here, so if there's any questions, please feel free to jump in. The work that we do at Ready cannot be done without our investor network. The services that we provide are at no cost to clients, and our investor network at this point is about 160 folks strong. That's a mix of public and private sectors. Jobs Ohio is our single largest, but by no means is our only one, and thank you so much for your continued support. We quite literally could not do this work without you all. We have, at the director level, which is the level that you all are at, there's several items you can see on the screen where we have opportunity for partnership, and of course we go well beyond that. The tennis tournament that's coming up here, we typically partner on. Andrea is typically joining the DC Fly-In, and Martin and Matt, thank you so much for the day-to-day, well, at least week to week, maybe not every single day we're connecting, but the week-to-week work with your all's team. So with all that, how has this region fared? So this work here is the greater Cincinnati region. Again, this is an aggregation of all 3 states last year. COVID kind of threw a lot of different industries, kind of topsy-turvy over the past couple years. But when you look at how our industry fared through all that, it was actually pretty well, especially rebounding strong last year. The goal of 70 projects, this is project closures, again, across all 3 states. You can see that we met that metric and all the other ones up there. And when we talk about new jobs, these are new job commitments from companies. Typically, if there's incentives involved at the state or local level, they're typically entering into a contractual agreement to commit to create these jobs over a period of time, somewhere between 3 and 5 years. So 7,000 new job commitments and $357 million in new payroll. Really outstanding success last year for the entire region. Then just to bring it a little bit closer to home, since Ready's inception, these are the metrics that we've accomplished together in partnership in Warren County with 48 project wins, 4,600 new job commitments, and $231 million in new payroll. So I'm going to take a second now to kind of put a little bit of logos or faces with names, if you will, on some of that success. And I broke it up a few different kinds of ways. There's the foreign direct investment in Warren County is really substantial. You can see on here all of these companies that are investing from outside of the country into Warren County. Some of them multiple offenders, folks like Festo and UGN that have done their original sightings and put up expansions. A cross-section of some of our manufacturing projects. Festo, again, continues to be great partners with their original siting, and their expansion, of course, just celebrated 50 years in the U.S. A couple weeks ago. Mann, a French flavoring company, we've had the opportunity to go out there and connect with the team in France, and Mr. Mann himself, they're extremely fond of the region, continue to be successful because of their location. Modula, of course, is a new siting that located in the former Dayton Daily News building. Tremendous partners of this region. We were actually had a client at a dinner last night where the folks from Modula showed up just to kind of sing the praises of how accessible and the partnership in Southwest Ohio has been for their new location. Park North has had a tremendous amount of activity. Of course, UGN had the original siting, and then the expansion. They make sound barriers and foam pad inserts for vehicles. Of course, Amazon, one of their several large projects up there in Monroe. And then to the bioscience front, we've got AtriCure, who established their headquarters and then has done several expansions. up there, and then Hardy Diagnostics in Springboro. The first project was, they're headquartered out of California, was about a new location. And then the second project there, although it's smaller than most of the ones that we're working, was extremely important. When COVID hit, they hit the ground running and started some new transport vessels for COVID testing swabs and cultures is what they rolled out. And so we stepped in to try to assist them to get some capital injection to directly try to combat and service what we were all facing there in 2020. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Again, I know I went pretty quickly there. We could not do it without not only your financial contribution, but your time, leadership. Commissioner Young, thank you so much for sitting on the executive committee. Any questions for me before I leave you to the rest of your meeting?
Anything?
All right, thank you so much. Take care.
Okay. And we next have on our agenda the thank you from for the ESO Records Management System.
Morning.
Morning. I'm Steve Vagenbrod. I'm the fire chief for the Clear Creek Fire District, and we provide services to Clear Creek Township in the city of Springboro. But today I'm here representing the Warren County Fire Chiefs Association, where I serve as president. I thought it was important to come and, when I originally called to say thank you, was for the ESO program, but also since then, you recently approved the RFP for the automatic voice dispatching system. So I'd like to take the opportunity to thank you for both of those today. I've heard all three of you, when you campaign or when you serve, tout your strong support for public safety. And I do think it's important, to recognize that unfortunately, a lot of elected officials tout that, but then when it's time to put your money where your mouth is, they don't stand up and do that. But you all three did that in this case, and I wanted you to be recognized for that, because that is very important. And by supporting both of these ventures, you certainly made Warren County safer to both live and visit. So I just wanted to thank you for that, and didn't want to take too much of your time, but if you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them for you.
I have a question for you, Chief. Thank you for being here today, and that's very kind of you to be here acknowledging us doing our jobs, but we thank you for that. There's always this conversation comes up about Warren County having multiple dispatches, and I'm wondering if at the association level, if there's ever any conversation, do you have any concerns about that? Like, do you have a point of view about that?
I do. I have a personal point of view, but I also represent the association who has entities that do that. The City of Franklin and City of Lebanon both have their own dispatch centers. There are pros and cons, like anything in life, to that. One is they have a PSAP, which is the answering point for 911. So if someone's in the City of Franklin or Lebanon and they call 911, it goes right to their dispatch. So sometimes people can say that that's a little bit quicker. You get a little bit more local control and a little bit more customer service friendly, because the people there just serve a small group. When you look at what we use in Warren County, the majority, except for those two jurisdictions, it is just a more regional approach. While maybe it isn't the exact customer service friendly local control perspective, it is such a great utilization of resources. You don't have so much redundancy built into that. I'll speak from experience. When I first began working for Clear Creek, we used the City of Springboro Dispatch Center. So we had that, and I did get to experience that early in my career. But the smaller dispatch centers just can't afford to staff the way that the county dispatch center does. So you essentially, and in my experience, could handle one emergency at a time, or if you had a large-scale car crash, for example, where you needed fire, EMS, and law enforcement, and there's only one dispatcher, well, the one dispatcher can only do so much. They're trying to run license plates, they're trying to call CareFlight, they're trying to call extra resources, and it just was quite a time delay. So with my experience, I really enjoy the regionalization approach. I think that has a lot more benefits to do it that way, but I'm not going to tell other local jurisdictions how they should or shouldn't run their communities. So does that answer what you're looking for?
Yeah, I appreciate your candor on it. I mean, obviously, I think I can speak for all of us, that we just want to be able to provide the best service, the most, efficiently we can, and at the lowest, cost possible that's reasonable. So, but this question always comes up whenever we're talking about any fire, police, EMS issues. So I was just curious, and I appreciate your response.
Yeah, and your goal of providing the best service for the lowest cost, I do a lot of stuff in the region and speak to a lot of chiefs from different counties, and really Warren County, both our emergency services and telecommunications department are highly respected and highly regarded.
Yeah,
in
we're
the area.
really fortunate to have Melissa and Paul at the helm there, so I'm sure they appreciate you saying that too, but we know how lucky we are to have them.
Yeah, and we really enjoy the relationship with them. They're either personally at every meeting, or they definitely send a representative or multiple representatives to make sure that both of their agencies are represented at our meetings.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Have a great day.
Thanks, Chief.
Thanks, Chief.
Okay.
Right on time.
All right, so the final matter is today to render a decision relative to the sanitary sewer service request for the Stotler 2 property in Hamilton Township. We've had previous multiple meetings on this topic. We engaged counsel to provide advice to us on this matter. And I don't know if there's any further discussion. As I previously indicated, I believe this was a legal question. And we therefore engage counsel to give us advice, and I will vote consistent with the advice that we have received from counsel regarding this request. Do I have a motion on that or further discussion?
Well, I don't have any further discussion, but I'm happy to move that we deny the request by developers Ken Campbell and Greg Burling to access Warren County sanitary sewer service for the proposed Stotler 2 development in Hamilton Township.
I'll second that. All right, call the roll.
Mr. Grossman?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, is there anything else?
I do have something to bring forward that we previously discussed 2 weeks ago. This is in regard to our conversation regarding lump sum pay increases for our employees, as well as a 2% base salary increase. We've gone back and looked at the data. We've had conversations with legal counsel in terms of using ARPA dollars and what that would look like under those rules. For the lump sum pay increases, they would need to be broken up into 3 increments. We've set August, October, and December in $800 increments for full-time employees, and a prorated number for, this is in regard to the lump sum salary increases, and a prorated amount for part-time employees, based upon the number of hours that they are actually scheduled to work relative to their lump sum. Also, the 2% base wage increases, those are in an effort to retain current employees that we have been receiving one-off requests from different departments about trying to retain employees that are receiving offers at higher wages from other jurisdictions. Those would be effective, or it's my proposal to make those effective with the pay period beginning July 30th. That is just in reference to those employees that are under the Board of County Commissioners appointing authority. The resolution that I'm proffering also gives direction to work with the other elected officials relative to a lump sum increase, providing them the appropriation if they need it, to provide employees with the similar lump sum increase, as well as a 2%, because we are hearing from other elected officials, and I believe some of them may have approached the commission in regard to their efforts to retain employees as well as attract employees. I actually had a conversation with one last week that said that they were extremely thrilled that the board was entertaining this, because they are having difficulty in not only hiring new employees, but retaining them, and they're seeing what I will term as poaching amongst departments who do provide higher wages that they're trying to fend off. So I do have that resolution, And I also have 2 questions that we previously discussed that the commissioners would need to provide direction on. That would be to provide lump sums to, and we're talking about lump sums only, to the sheriff's bargaining unit. I previously mentioned that legal counsel for us in the union negotiation matter indicated that they would not approve or would not recommend to the board to approve any base salary increases for the bargaining units, as those are actually bargained in the contracts, but it would be totally your discretion on whether you provided lump sum increases to those bargaining units. So we have 3 bargaining units in the sheriff's office. We also have your own emergency services bargaining unit, as well as the engineer's office bargaining unit. I believe I provided you numbers previously on what that looked like without the sheriff's office and the lump sums, but I did provide you numbers with dispatch, or with the sheriff's bargaining units in it as well. The other item to be discussed is whether we offer some of our ARPA dollars to what we consider in the county agency funds. Those would be funds like the health department, mental health, regional planning commission, soil and water, and the park board's full-time staff members. So those would be the 2 issues that I'd like direction on. I have numbers on those as well. Then we can implement those or provide communication to those other entities. What I provided you in resolution form is only as it relates to the county commissioners' employees.
So general fund lump sum without the sheriff's union, but including dispatchers, is essentially $1 million.
That's correct.
General fund lump sum for all, including the sheriff's unions and the dispatcher, is 1.56. So then the non-general fund lump sum without the sheriff's union is an additional 900?
That's correct. Yes. So, yes.
And then
That's non-general. So the non-general would be the non-general sheriff's union. They're the only one that are actually in non-general fund. Those are the ones that we employed the deputies that provide contracted services for Deerfield Township, for South Lebanon. So that's what those are in terms of non-general. So if you look at it, it's $1.1 million without dispatchers in the general fund, 1.5, almost 1.6 with just general fund. Then looking at specifically non-general funds. Those
what's
are-
that? Who's that?
So those would be like the engineer's office, that would be CSEA, that would be clerk of courts. Those would be all those 200 funds, as well as the water and sewer department.
Okay, so so assuming it was all in on the first question, general
Yes.
fund
Yes.
plus the 2 unions, 1.6, let's call it, then there's an additional 900 without the sheriff's union, $1 million with the sheriff's.
That's
So all of a sudden you're
correct.
at 2.5 or 2.6. If
Yeah.
you were saying everybody to that point.
Everybody to that point, total general fund and non-general fund without the sheriff, it's almost 2.2. General fund and non-general fund with the sheriff's union is 2.7.
Oh,
almost
okay, so
2.8.
that's that third column.
That's
So
correct.
If
That's-
we did
yes.
through everybody.
Yes, that's
into there, it's
correct.
2.745.
Yes, that's correct.
And based on the spending plan on the ARPA dollars, is there roughly $3 million
Yes.
that we've underspent?
Yes. So we have what I will say are dollars remaining from projects that aren't going to be fully spent, as well as our general revenue replacement dollars that will have to fill the gaps for things that ARPA says we can't do. As, for example, salaried employees, we cannot use, premium pay dollars for salaried employees.
Yeah.
But we could use our general revenue replacement dollars of ARPA.
Yeah.
So yes, we do have dollars available, one bucket or another. Sufficient to cover all 2.7, as well as if you were to provide the agency funds with lump sum budgetary amounts of $238,000. So you're talking about $3 million all in, all agency funds that are under the county commissioners, as well as the unions. I will mention, the Board of DD actually received their own ARPA dollars separately. They are not included in these numbers as they've already provided, I believe, premium pay for their employees. So these numbers do not include Board
And
of
they already
DD.
have their own.
That's correct.
Significant carryover.
That's correct. That's correct. And there will be some in the non-general fund that don't need our assistance, if they were to implement the 2% salary increase, but it's our intent to provide them with ARPA dollars for lump sum increases.
For the one time.
For the one time, yes.
And then the 2%, the 2% base pay adjustment
Yes.
is another 2 million to the general fund?
And you just have to look at the 10 pay period, so we're just looking at this particular
Yeah.
budget year. That's roughly $320,000 if we were to provide everyone with a 2% base salary increase for general fund and non-general fund. And that would be an actual general fund expenditure.
Without the sheriffs?
Without the sheriffs, that's
or
correct.
anybody in
any
the bargaining
union.
unit.
That's
so
correct.
Currently,
That's
yeah.
correct. Which is the largest budget
Yes.
and the largest salaries that you actually have, are bargaining unit employees.
Well, if there's ever a time to do it, it's now, simply because, as we previously discussed, there's things completely outside of our control systemically in our economy that are affecting everyone equally, to the tune of everything's costing them 9% more than it was costing them a year ago, which is really not good. No fault of ours, no fault of our employees, but yet they're suffering through it. So you have that coupled with the fact we had this basically borrowed $46 million that was handed to us that is 100% contributing to all of this, in my opinion. Now what do we do with it? So it's a way of taking a portion of that and investing it back into our employees who do such a great job for us and are now suffering because of this inflationary environment. I've got no problem spending the 2.7 something.
Well, it's 3 million or 2.7?
It would be roughly $3 million if you include the agency funds. So if you include the agency funds, the unions, as well as non-union employees, it would be almost $3 million.
I don't understand that. What's the 320?
That's the 2%.
That's the 2%. I'm
Okay.
sorry, the lump sums are the roughly 3 million,
It
an
said- but
additional
the-
320,000 and 2%.
Right, I don't understand that. On your last email, it's the 2.745. Total general fund and non-general fund with the sheriff's union. You're saying
That's
that's not right?
correct. That's lump sum amount. That's the 2,400 lump sum amount. General fund, non-general fund, including the sheriff's union or union employees.
Okay, that's 2.745.
That's correct.
And
And
now-
if you add the agency funds, those are the ones that we just talked about. Those are the health department, the mental health, regional planning commission, the park board. That's an additional 238,000 of lump sum funds from ARPA.
All right, you just don't have that listed in your email.
You might not
It's
see
above.
it. It's above it. It's in number 2.
So that one-time bonus payment is, if you include, all in is around 3 million.
That's correct, if you include the agency funds.
All right, so I'm in favor of doing that. Do we need to have a motion?
Yeah, I do have a resolution. I have a resolution to authorize a lump sum premium pay increase plus a 2% base wage increase and approve a 2% pay scale increase for employees under the appointing authority of the Board of County Commissioners.
Is there a motion on that?
So moved.
Yes?
Yes. Do we need to take a roll call on that?
Mr. Grossman?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
All right, is there anything else?
That is all that I have. I say that, that's all that I have.
Okay.
That was enough.
That's all that I have today.
Sure, okay. Well, is there any other comment from the board? Got any other comment? No. All right, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved?
Yes.
Yes.